Hello and welcome to the business programme. I'm Liz Hay and joining me in the studio is my special guest Sarah Bennett. Sarah is a social media consultant and trainer, and she's run her own digital and creative business, Tech and Toast, for 5 years. I'm especially interested in the entrepreneurship project Sarah is currently working on in the north of England under the title Elevate Startup. This project is designed for prisoners and ex-offenders to try and break the cycle of reoffending, which is a huge problem costing our UK taxpayers an estimated £4.5 billion every year. We know that over 60% of offenders go on to reoffend in the first 12 months after being released from prison, and this costs the government and wider society a total of £131,000 per head. Self-employment provides a good option for ex-offenders, one safe from discrimination and one that can have a meaningful impact on their rehabilitation. Here's Sarah to tell us more. Hi Sarah.
Hi Liz.
And welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
When did Project Elevate Startup begin and how did you first become involved?
Well, it's been an idea that myself and my friend Craig have had for a while. Craig is very much the driving force behind the idea, having worked in the prison service for all of his professional career, more or less. So it's something we've been planning for a few years. It's only really been in the last 12 months that we've really got it off the ground. It's something that I'm passionate about, and obviously Craig is, and he's got the insider knowledge. So we got to the point where we were like, look, it's now or never. We're going to have to do something before somebody else does, essentially.
Sure.
So.
And is it particular targeted at ex-offenders who are seeking self-employment as an option for leaving prison?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a programme that starts before release. So it's part of a prison entrepreneurship programme where they learn business skills, accountancy, basics, that type of thing, how to actually run a business. Yeah. And then we sort of step in to deliver a little bit of digital training, although it's quite restricted because, as I'm sure you're aware, there's no internet access in prison. So, it's a bit more theory focused initially. And then we develop a business plan. There's an application process to come and work with us. And then if an individual is successful, we then support them essentially through the gate, so when they're leaving and then thereafter.
Sure. And how difficult is it, Sarah, for ex-offenders to find employment, and what additional challenges does that create?
It is difficult for them. Now, there are employment programmes within prisons. There are some absolutely great organisations such as Recycling Lives, who you might have heard of, also the Timson Group, who take people into employment following their release. And, in a way, we're there to support them because, as I'm sure you're aware, not everybody suits paid employment. Not everybody fits that mould. So we're offering an alternative. It's challenging when you leave prison, especially if you go back into the environment that you came out of, same friends, same family, same location, and that's one of the reasons why reoffending is so high in the UK. So in order for us to really succeed, we have to identify the people that really want to make a difference and start off their self-employed journey, but also we need to be sure that we can provide them with the support that they need so that the chances of reoffending are less.
Great. And how important is it to support the ex-offenders in the start-up phase of their business, but also in the established phases as well?
Yeah, well, the start-up question is quite an interesting one because sometimes they haven't actually got a firm idea, but that's okay. We're not expecting Alan Sugars or Richard Branson's, It's very much more that they have an idea that is sustainable. So if somebody came to us saying, look, I want to sell pieces of the moon, then that isn't sustainable. But if somebody wants to build on the skills that they either had before they began their sentence or they've actually learned during their sentence, then that's when it starts to become a bit more feasible. There are lots of education programmes within prison. They tend to be more focused on practical skills such as plastering, DIY, that type of thing. So some people who will be working with us on the programme have more of a manual skill, but that doesn't mean that we wouldn't work with somebody who has a different skill set. And then when they're through the gate, that's where the fun begins for us, essentially, because we are supporting them with the digital side of their business, which, you know yourself how quickly technology changes. So imagine if you have been out of the system, serving a sentence away from accessing technology, even if it was just for 12 months, things have really changed. So if it's been 3, 5, 7, 10 years, you really are at a disadvantage, because, you can't even make a doctor's appointment now, or apply for housing without access to the internet. So if you haven't actually ever really used the internet, especially on a smartphone, it's a difficult skill, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So we're there to support them through that journey, through starting their business, developing websites, managing their social media, training them, even just down to actually producing a logo. But we're there to basically so that they have that side of the business covered, so they can concentrate on actually running the business.
And in your experience, Sarah, are there business needs that they have similar to other entrepreneurs that you've worked with?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very few entrepreneurs are the finished product on the day that they start trading. I've nearly 5 years now, and there's still things that I'm not sure about. I think the advantage that I probably had over somebody who's just finishing their sentence is that, I haven't got that attached to me. So I had the support of my family and friends. I had the confidence at networking events. Even though I still found it intimidating, I still didn't have that baggage with me, essentially. So, people need support, and that's another thing that we provide, which is basically a mentor within the industry that they're trying to start their business in. And also we have mentors that are former offenders, so they know and they understand the challenges that people are facing.
That's great. And what types of businesses are Elevate Startup working with? Have you noticed any particular trends?
Yeah, so because of the education that's provided in the system, they do tend to be more manual businesses or actual personal trainers as well, because you can take those qualifications while serving your sentence. So they are more sort of swung towards that at the moment. Although we're quite open-minded in terms of, if somebody's got an idea and we think that they could actually do something with that, then, we're open to suggestion, essentially.
Yeah, good. And what's it been like working with this particular target group, and how receptive have they been so far to your advice and guidance?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Actually, most of the sort of hiccups that we've faced along the way are just down to the system and how it works, in terms of actually getting access to prisons, getting access to the right people who make the decisions, that type of thing. But the people that we've actually been working with during the prison visits have been really, really great and interesting. I was never actually scared of going into prison, but it was just more that I didn't know the processes and I didn't understand certain things. And now that I've done it a few times, I'm a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, and as you've explained, it's even more difficult because you're teaching digital skills without them being able to do the practice whilst in prison, which is quite a big challenge to actually get over.
Absolutely.
When upskilling them for work on the other side.
Absolutely, and it's something that we eventually want to try and tackle within the prison system. I mean, it's not a criticism of them, of course. It's not. Everybody's overstretched, under-resourced, but now how society is, you're not prepared for release if you haven't got digital skills. And you can't claim benefits, or you can't, as part of job seekers, for example, you're meant to produce CVs and electronic records of your job seeking, potentially. I mean, how can you do that if you've not actually got the skills? And the IT skills that tend to be taught at the moment are very... It's more, I don't know if you've heard it, it's CLAIT, C-L-A-I-T, and that's very much more focused on word processing and Excel and PowerPoint, which is all great, but in reality, many people actually don't particularly need those skills for their jobs. So it's more, we would like the prison service and the prison government, essentially, the governance, to actually realise that something really does need to change, and it's how they balance that with the need for prison to actually be secure and not allow unlimited internet access. So it is a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And has the experience taught you anything that's enhanced your own business journey, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned before, I do training, and it's mostly corporate training, although I do work occasionally with charities and social enterprises on a pro bono basis. And really it's sort of allowed me to appraise my training skills, essentially, because there's no point in me going in and talking about Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn when, you know, not necessarily all of your audience know actually what you were talking about. You know? So it has sort of made me have a bit of a rethink there, but it's an incredibly positive experience. It's, you know, something that I'm really glad that I've taken on board.
Great. Well, thanks, Sarah. That's been a great insight into Elevate Startup.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Now, that's all we have time for on today's show, but do join me again next time on the Business Programme.